Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Friday, June 3rd, and the Golden Nugget and other Vegas casinos have released win totals, season win totals for college football, which have taken action. The limits are still low, but they're out. They've moved, and they've taken action. We're going to talk right now to SBR contributor Ian Cameron to get his thoughts on some of the early line movements that we've seen, and also some of his thoughts on possible value with one team that he says he likes, or he thinks that the market, or at least the opening number for their win total is off. Ian Cameron, thanks for being with us. College win totals already out. Limits are low, but they have moved. Tell us about what you've seen in terms of line movement for college win totals so far.
Yeah, Peter, one of the things we're going to focus in on this video is basically looking at teams that have seen significant movement in the early trading here since the college football season win totals were released. South Point in Las Vegas currently has win totals for all 128 FBS college football teams. We're going to focus in right now on three of them where we've seen significant movement. The Ohio State Buckeyes, they opened as low as 8.5 wins, shaded to the over at about minus 115. It's been steamed up by a full win. We're now seeing Ohio State at 9.5 wins, over at plus 105. Under at minus 125 pretty much, and a steep move toward the over. And a large part of that is because, the initial setting of that number at 8.5 wins was largely because odds makers see that Ohio State may be having a tough time duplicating what they did last year, 11-1. They won the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame, a team that's got, the fewest returning starters of any Power 5 team coming into this season. They just have 6 returning starters, Ohio State. So right away, that's something that odds makers are concerned about in terms of prognosticating and looking ahead to future success this season for Ohio State. But I think the one thing that bettors are taking notice in moving this up from 8.5 to 9.5 is Ohio State recruits at a very high level. Urban Meyer, a tremendous coach, one of the best in college football, and it's a team that we can expect probably more to reload than rebuild here in the upcoming season, and definitely bettors have taken note of that, moving it up to 9.5. And it is worth noting Michigan getting just a ton of hype coming into the season as maybe a team that can challenge Ohio State here in the Big Ten Conference for the upcoming season. But let's hold off on the hype here. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, still only his second year upcoming as the head coach of this Wolverines team. He's still got to be able to prove he can get it done. I know they're obviously going to be chomping at the bit when they face Ohio State head-to-head, but I think it's a little bit premature to just suddenly expect Michigan maybe to finish ahead of Ohio State here in the Big Ten. And I think that's probably something that bettors have sort of agreed with as well in terms of looking to bet Ohio State over their win total here in early trading. Another team that's taken a lot of early movement here in the betting markets season win totals wise, Tennessee. I mean, they opened at 10 wins, minus 110, and we've seen a pretty steady flow of under money trickle in on the Volunteers, now sitting at 9.5 wins, shaded to the under at about minus 125 right now. And Tennessee is getting tons of preseason hype. That always concerns me when a team is just getting an incredible amount of hype and scrutiny coming into the season. They're ranked 7th in the preseason rankings, a team that's loaded from an experienced perspective with 18 returning starters back from last year's team. A very good quarterback and Joshua Dobbs is back. 2 great running backs, Alvin Kamara and Jalen Hurd, and all of this has led to just a ton of hype and expectations with this Tennessee team, and that's why they opened at 10 wins with their season win total. That being said, they are going to have a great defense. They brought back most of that group as well, a defense that held teams to 20 points per game last season. All of those factors, though, are why Tennessee is lined at 10. You have to keep in mind, though, when you're looking at win totals, it's great to have the experience. It's great to have the talent that Tennessee looks to have on paper, but schedule analysis, that has to be a critical component of what you look at with season win totals. And from a schedule analysis perspective, let's be honest, this is Tennessee, a program that hasn't won in forever, a program that hasn't really had glory days since Philip Fulmer was the head coach there a long, long time ago, and they still play in the SEC. They still have to navigate their way through a very challenging schedule. I mean, Tennessee, you look at their schedule, they got a 5-game stretch starting on September the 24th, where they're home to Florida, at Georgia, at Texas A&M, home to Alabama, and at South Carolina. And they have a bye between the Bama and the South Carolina games. So that is a grueling stretch. And you're asking this Tennessee team, especially when they were at 10 wins, they've got to win 11 or more games for you to lose an underbet. on that team when they have a very hellacious 5-game stretch there starting at the end of September. So it's not the easiest schedule. It's not a team that's used to handling the pressure of a big-time college football game with so much expectations on this team coming into the year. So that's why I think we've seen bettors flock to Tennessee under, a team that maybe is just too hot in the betting markets right now for bettors at this point in time. And one last team, Peter, that we're going to mention, UNLV, line currently at 5.5 wins, and they opened at 4.5 at about -130. So here's another team, the UNLV Rebels, moved up all the way to 5.5 wins with their season win total, a full win movement so far. It is year number 2 for head coach Tony Sanchez here with this UNLV team. And let's give UNLV credit. Let's give Sanchez credit. This team was a lot more competitive last year. I mean, they gave Northern Illinois fits. They played a lot of teams a lot closer than people were expecting last year. This is obviously his second year as the head coach, so the players should be more familiar with his system, more continuity, more chemistry. They do lose their quarterback, Blake Decker, but from what I've seen, Kurt Palandek is a guy that's got some capabilities to replace him well at quarterback. Johnny Stanton, a very highly touted JUCO All-American, is going to be battling with him for the quarterback spot. They've got another 4-star recruit at quarterback, Armani Rogers, who's going to be involved in the quarterback mix in fall camp. So there is definitely some talent on this UNLV team. Lots of skill position talent. They still have some concerns along the offensive line and the defensive line, size-wise, experience-wise, just depth. You worry that if they suffer a boatload of injuries along either the O-line or the D-line next year, it could come back to haunt them. The secondary should be solid, but most importantly, I think bettors are buying into Tony Sanchez, a head coach that had a great deal of success at the high school level at Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, and a guy that 3-9 last year was this Las Vegas team at UNLV, but they were very competitive, and I think bettors are holding out hope that they can improve. However, you have to be careful now. I mean, we're talking about 5.5 wins now with UNLV at the current win total number, and it is worth noting, UNLV's got to go 500 or better now to cash an over at the current win total number, and it's a program, despite the fact that I think they are starting to show signs of improvement and being on the uptick, UNLV still has only won 6 or more games in a season once since 2004, and that's a hurdle that you're going to have to overcome if you're going to cash UNLV over at the current number of 5.5.
All right, Ian, and is there any college football win total out now that hasn't moved yet, but you think either might move or might wind up having some value at the current line?
Yeah, I'm going to look toward the Memphis Tigers, currently sitting at 6.5 wins. It's not going to be a big bet for me, but I am going to have a small piece of under 6.5 wins with the Memphis Tigers this season. Justin Fuente did a remarkable job with the Memphis Tigers, one of the best rebuilding jobs I think anybody's done in recent college football history. This program was pathetic, really, before Justin Fuente got there. They went 5-31 in 3 years before he arrived as the Memphis head coach. And then in his third season, they won 10 games, and they won 9 games the following year. But now Justin Fuente has departed for greener pastures. Of course, he left to take the Virginia Tech head coaching job, and pretty much a decision anyone would make in that same situation. And now the task to replace Justin Fuente with Mike Norvell as the head coach, who spent the last several years at Arizona State as their offensive coordinator under Todd Graham. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for Memphis, I think, to duplicate the success that they've had in recent years. Of course, they lose Paxton Lynch, their standout quarterback, who's now going to be plying his trade in the NFL starting next season. So there's a lot of question marks here with this Memphis team. New head coach, loss of their tremendous quarterback, who's not going to be easy to replace, new offensive and defensive coordinator on both sides of the football. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means new systems, new terminology, and a steep learning curve for the players to get used to playing a different system. So this is going to be a little bit of a tough challenge for Memphis, I think, to maintain the success they've had. And then you look at their schedule, they play a very good Bowling Green team out of the MAC, Ole Miss in the non-conference, not going to be easy games by any stretch there. And then inside the ACC and the AAC rather, in their conference schedule, they're playing the likes of Temple, Tulsa, South Florida is going to be good, I think, this year. Cincinnati, is still going to be a solid team. Houston Cougars, of course, had a great season last year, should be solid again this year. SMU should be improved and at least be explosive offensively and be a challenge from that standpoint. So they won't be a pushover either. And when you look at that schedule and then you look at the loss of the coach, the loss of the coordinators, the loss of the quarterback, and then you look at the schedule, you think, boy, is there potential here for at least 6 losses from this Memphis team next season? I think there is. I think it's going to be a little bit of a difficult transition year here for the Memphis Tigers. So I'm going to look to bet the Memphis Tigers under their season win totals. You can find that right now currently lined at 6.5 wins.
All right, Ian, awesome insights. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Peter. Enjoy the games and good luck.